Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news coming out of the transfer portal as star quarterback from Liberty Kaidon Salter enters his name into the portal and will immediately become one of the more coveted quarterbacks available for Power 5 programs to take a look at. But in particular, the Auburn Tigers. This one makes a ton of sense from two standpoints. One, many Auburn fans know the relationship Hugh Freeze has with Kaidon Salter. Kaidon Salter, a former top 50 national prospect, goes to Tennessee, ends up transferring to Liberty, but was recruited by Hugh Freeze during his time at Liberty. And you take a look at what Kaidon Salter has done in the 2023 season, one of the more dynamic playmakers at that quarterback position across the country. But more than just a relationship standpoint, this is a guy that I think fits what Auburn wants to do on offense in a perfect way. Extremely dynamic as a runner, a guy that can play off script and really just elevates what this Auburn offense wants to do. Want to talk about Kaidon Salter, why he makes sense for the Auburn Tigers. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys and a special shout out to the Auburn Tiger fans. This has been a program many of you guys know I've just had a blast talking about, whether it's on the high school recruiting trail, whether it's in the transfer portal. The amount of support you guys have shown, it's been amazing. Cannot thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear your thoughts, your opinions on Kaidon Salter potentially being Auburn's quarterback heading into 2024. I think a perfect fit. We'll get into why. Now, you take a look at Auburn in this quarterback room heading into 2024. Many of you guys have heard my take on this. Right after that Maryland game, we hopped on, talked about what we saw from Auburn. And my biggest concern with this quarterback room heading into 2024 is the lack of confidence Hugh Freeze and this offensive coaching staff has in what they have in the quarterback room right now. I mean, Peyton Thorne with 15 bowl practices, multiple weeks to kind of install this offensive game plan for Maryland, came out with a completely watered down, conservative offense that really lacked any sort of aggression. And yes, Peyton Thorne did not play very good against Maryland, but my biggest concern was the lack of confidence that offensive game plan showed in their quarterback. And when you have not much confidence in your starting quarterback, that is really hard to run an offense. So yes, Peyton Thorne did not play very good, but the lack of confidence showed by this Auburn coaching staff in Peyton Thorne was probably the thing that you're most concerned with. You look at Peyton Thorne's game against Maryland, did not complete a pass over 10 yards throughout the whole game. And they really didn't ask him to do much to elevate this Auburn offense. And you kind of got hints that Auburn would be going and kind of kicking some tires around in the transfer portal for a quarterback, as Cam Ward suddenly kind of the blue. Auburn was a player in Cam Ward's recruitment before he decided to go to the NFL draft. We kind of have that feeling that Auburn wants to go get a quarterback in the transfer portal, and a guy like Kaidon Salter represents a perfect fit in this Auburn offense, not only, again, from what the relationship he has with Hugh Freeze, but more importantly, what he can do in this Auburn offense. Now, getting into Kaidon Salter, this is a guy that in 2023 threw for over 2,800 yards, 32 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions, also ran the football for over 1,000 yards during his time at Liberty. The thing I want to focus on the most is Kaidon Salter opens up this Auburn offense. I mean, there were certain plays, certain throws that Auburn really just didn't ask Peyton Thorne to make because they knew he couldn't make them. And even going into the season with Auburn, we were excited about Peyton Thorne and what he could do. But the big narrative was, and we kind of said this heading in, was, and Peyton Thorne's a quarterback that's not really going to elevate an offense. If you give him a good run game and you give him some good pass catchers, he can win football games in the SEC, but he's not going to be a guy that elevates this offense. He's going to be a guy that gets elevated by the players around him. And to do something special and to have a special offense, it needs to be the roles reversed. You need to have a quarterback that can elevate the offense around him. And I think Kaidon Salter is a guy that can do that. Not only putting together a phenomenal season in 2023 where you watch Liberty games and just say, that guy should be playing at a Power 5 school. He's the most talented player on the football field by a landslide, and you see that with his high school recruiting ranking coming out of high school as a top 50 national player. But more importantly, in a conversation that I think doesn't get halved enough in terms of evaluating quarterbacks in the transfer portal, are they winning games? This is a guy that went 13-0 in the regular season. The only loss that they had was against Oregon, where they were completely outmatched. That pretty much every position on the football field outside of the quarterback spot. Now, you look at Liberty and what they did on offense in 2023. You talk about elevating that offense. Kaidon Salter did that. Liberty on offense in 2023, 38.3 points per game. That was number 6 in the country. They averaged 7.1 yards per play. That was number 4 in the country. A number I have circled in my notes, 9.5 yards per pass attempt. That was number 4 in the country. Auburn wasn't even in the top 50 in terms of yards per pass. They really struggled to hit the explosive play in that passing attack, and 6.1 yards per carry, number 2 in the country. And Kaidon Salter played a massive role in that, averaging 6.7 yards per carry by himself at the quarterback position. Kaidon Salter, a guy that is going to elevate this offense, allow Auburn to really open up this offensive playbook. There's not a throw that Kaidon Salter can't make. And you can't say the same thing about Peyton Thorne. And we saw that in terms of how this offensive coaching staff called the Auburn games throughout the whole season, but particularly in that Maryland game. I mean, this is a very watered down offense that is trying to cater to Peyton Thorne and his kind of limited capabilities. Kaidon Salter in at quarterback, there is no watering down this offense. There is no play or no throw that is not in the playbook for Kaidon Salter, because he can make all those throws. He can make the plays with his athleticism that you want him to make. And you talk about playing off script, something that Peyton Thorne at times showed he could do a little bit. You're getting a guy in Kaidon Salter who can do it at such a high level. And that is becoming such a massive part of being a quarterback at the college football level and even the NFL level. You look at the quarterbacks that are having the most success at both levels of football, college and the NFL. It's quarterbacks that can make something out of nothing. When the play breaks down, can you get outside the pocket? Can you extend plays for your wide receivers to get open? Can you scramble and pick up the chains on a 3rd and 6 and make someone miss in the open space? Kaidon Salter can do all of that. And the last thing I'll note for Kaidon Salter, and what excites me about Kaidon Salter, is he's a guy that he commits to Auburn. He is suddenly a selling point for wide receivers in the transfer portal. And this is something that we've talked about a lot in terms of Auburn not having the difference makers in the wide receiver room. Now that is getting fixed with a guy like Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman coming into this program. But you want to start winning football games now if you're the Auburn Tigers. And you want some veteran wide receivers to come into this room so you're not relying on 2 true freshman wide receivers to be the guys in this Auburn offense. I have full confidence that they can be those guys, but you don't want to go into an SEC schedule relying on true freshmen to play wide receiver and be your main contributors. You land Kaidon Salter, and you're suddenly selling to these wide receivers in the transfer portal. You have one of the more dynamic, prolific quarterbacks in all of college football in 2023 throwing you the football. If you don't get a quarterback in the transfer portal, you can't sell that to transfer wide receivers. You can sell Peyton Thorne throwing the football, and that is not, in all due respect, this is not me trying to drag Peyton Thorne. That is just not a very good selling point. So Kaidon Salter not only elevating this offense in 2024, I think allowing this Auburn offense to really open up that playbook, but also becoming a huge selling point for the Auburn Tigers and what they want to do in the transfer portal as well. A massive target for Auburn. The Hugh Freeze connection makes a ton of sense from a schematic standpoint. This makes a ton of sense. Would love to see Auburn be a player. I would fully expect Auburn to be a player in this one. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. We'll continue to update this situation as it plays out. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.